How many languages is the story of Jesus in?
We've translated it into 72 languages.
72?
There's 27 million copies out there.
27 million. And just a very effective tool that you've been using for years.
It's wonderful. We offered this over national television when Russia opened. And within 3 days, they had to close the post office. It was the biggest influx of mail in living memory.
Wow. Because they were so keen to get
that's been a great soul-winning tool.
We have just a few minutes to do Iran.
But I mean, because my mind, I mean, Terry, there's so much information. I mean, we could go for 10 hours, 3 weeks talking to you about this. So, you know, you look at this booklet, you hear about corruption in the world, the struggles of Christians. You know, I'm sitting here, I'm a little overwhelmed, I gotta be honest, because I'm kind of like, what do we do? And so, you know, we want to support you at World Compassion, but is there, you know, more petitions need to be made for government? Do we need to go help more underground churches and build community as they take these, you know, brochures and read about Jesus and receive him, and then where do they go? I mean,
people are going into Afghanistan on their own as silent witnesses. They'll get a job. They'll simply be salt and light and permeate society. And in Afghanistan, that's about the only way there is to go right now.
Small is the way to go. And like, well, my friend who's there, who's working with widows, she's lived there for 13 years. So she lived there with the Taliban. She was spat on by the Taliban, but she has persisted. And I think that's exactly right, Terry, that it's going to be people who God calls to go there and to persist.
And you have a goal in Iran of, am I right, 100,000 Bibles in Farsi.
Well, what's been happening, Moira, in Iran is really mind-blowing. Apparently, television, Christian television from the West, is beaming off the satellites and down into both Iran and Iraq. And there has been a tremendous wave of young people in Iran coming to Jesus. They estimate somewhere between 875,000 and 1 million young Iranians have made a decision for Christ.
They're calling it a revival.
Right. I did a show for a guy in Tulsa who is from Iran. I did 4 messages. He translated it. I was at the Prime Minister's house in Kurdistan 10 days later. Walked into a room and this guy said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I just saw you on TV last night." So it's working. It's getting down. But our job now is to get Scripture to all these people coming to the Lord.
And the hope in Iran is the young people. 50% of the population, 20 and under.
That's right.
In Iran.
That's right.
And they're not happy with the current leadership.
But look what social media did for the last election. I mean, you know, the government tried to clamp down on television and all of these things and information. But Twitter, Facebook, these things got the news out there. And so I think there is something in that, Terry, that idea that, you know, where there are these walls built, there are other things that can get through.
We have a little old man with 3 donkeys who lives, and he lives on the border, I won't tell you where. And last year, with those donkeys, he hauled 15,000 Farsi Bibles over the mountains into Iran.
I know.
Into Iran. And this guy just said, "Give me more." He said, "You give me 100,000, I'll get him in there." So basically, that's what we're working at.
You know, I think it's so interesting, too, because we talk about Afghanistan, you get a little discouraged, and then you look at what God's doing in Iran and Iraq, which you would never have predicted a number of years ago. And so I think, you know, it's like, yes, things are tough, but God's bigger than that.
And can I say something here? I have a real issue with people who preach on the second coming, and they get everybody wanting to get out of here, everybody wanting to go to heaven, and nobody involved in the world. And Jesus said, and I think this is the most important sign of the soon return of Jesus, "This gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto every language group, every ethnic group, every group of people on the planet, and then the end shall come." That's the only verse in the Bible that has, "Then the end shall come." And why we have magnified the signs that are going on in the Middle East to the degree we have, and nobody is talking about the big reason. And I just want to take a moment today and say, I believe if you look at the back of the book, who ends up in heaven? Some from every tribe, kindred, tongue, and nation will be there. So we have a job as the church. God has given us a mandate, and I'm not looking for a fire escape out of here. I want Jesus to come as soon as he'll come.
And you know what I think? I think what I'm inspired about is just really encouraging and praying for the creativity. Last week when we did North Korea with Bridget, they were doing balloons with the Bible over the border, and then they would get the balloons and get the gospel. We've got donkeys going across with 15,000 Bibles.
Exactly.
We have Jesus showing up in dreams and visions. I think we need to be encouraged. Now I'm getting all excited that God is bigger than us, and he will come in visions and dreams. He will have somebody in Afghanistan for 13 years and persevere and deal with spitting on her. And we'll have people like Terry who encourage the churches, and social media that actually, even though people are like, social media, it actually gets through the gospel and the message. So I mean, things are at work. I think it's just to get excited and pray for that creativity to continue.
Do we have time for another story?
Great stories, Terry.
There's so many good stories.
Let's see when we come back.
Okay.
You know, we are waiting optimistically, enthusiastically for the Lord's return. But I think the key word is 2 words, active waiting. Can we embrace that? Active waiting. And you wait right there, because we will be back with a couple
looking
of
for
thoughts.
occupation, not evacuation.
Occupation, not evacuation. 2 more words. Hold that. Come back.